Most people automatically associate seafood with health, picturing lean protein, heart-friendly fats, and the refreshing purity of the ocean. Yet beneath this image lies an uncomfortable truth. Not all seafood is safe, and some of it may be slowly harming you from within. The global seafood industry has grown so rapidly that many producers have prioritized quantity over quality, creating environments that compromise both marine life and human health. Farmed fish, imported seafood, and industrial aquaculture have turned once nutritious foods into sources of chemical exposure and bacterial contamination. The illusion of clean eating disappears when you see what's happening beneath the surface. Take farmed salmon, for example. Once hailed as the perfect source of omega-3s, the reality of its production is unsettling. These fish are crowded by the thousands into sea cages or tanks, unable to swim freely or feed naturally. Their diet often includes processed pellets made from corn, soy, and animal byproducts, a far cry from the nutrient-rich marine diet of wild salmon. To prevent disease outbreaks caused by confinement, fish farmers rely heavily on antibiotics and pesticides. These substances don't just disappear, they accumulate in the flesh of the fish and end up in our bodies. Studies have detected traces of polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, dioxins, and other carcinogens in farmed salmon, toxins that can contribute to inflammation, hormone disruption, and long-term organ damage. The rich pink color we associate with fresh salmon isn't even natural in many cases. It's the result of synthetic dyes added to make the meat look appetizing. Imported shrimp tells a similar story. Shrimp farms, especially in countries like Thailand, India, and Vietnam, often operate under minimal regulation. Ponds are treated with harsh chemicals to control parasites, and antibiotics are liberally used to prevent disease. The water these shrimp grow in can be contaminated with waste and industrial runoff. When tested, many imported shrimp samples have been found to contain harmful bacteria such as E. coli and Vibrio, both of which can cause severe illness. What's more alarming is that some of these bacteria are antibiotic resistant, making infections harder to treat. The shrimp that ends up on a dinner plate may have traveled across the globe from an unregulated pond to a processing facility with little oversight. The low price tag comes at the cost of both quality and safety. Then there's tilapia, often marketed as the affordable healthy fish. The truth is, it's one of the most nutritionally misleading foods available. Farmed tilapia is typically raised in overcrowded conditions, fed a cheap diet of soy and grain, and exposed to untreated wastewater. Because of its unnatural feeding process, tilapia's fatty acid profile is completely distorted, containing very little omega-3 and a high concentration of omega-6 fatty acids. Consuming too much omega-6 promotes inflammation in the body, leading to cardiovascular issues, arthritis, and other chronic problems. When you compare it to fish caught in the wild, tilapia looks more like a product of industrial farming than nature. The growing consumer demand for inexpensive seafood has created a cycle of exploitation and contamination. Fishermen and corporations have learned that the average buyer doesn't question where their seafood comes from, as long as it looks clean and tastes fresh. Supermarkets and restaurants often label fish vaguely, sometimes even selling cheaper species under premium names. The problem runs deeper than just food safety. It's about trust and transparency. Every time someone buys a piece of farmed salmon or imported shrimp without asking questions, it reinforces an unsustainable and harmful industry. Beyond health risks, the environmental impact is devastating. These farms release waste and uneaten feed into coastal waters, depleting oxygen levels and creating dead zones. Chemicals used to kill parasites harm other marine species, while escaped farmed fish disrupt local ecosystems. The result is a cycle of pollution that affects not only the oceans but the food chain itself. The very seafood once prized for vitality is now a carrier of industrial waste and pharmaceutical residue. What was once a symbol of vitality and purity has turned into a global health hazard fueled by greed and ignorance. People continue eating these products unaware of the damage accumulating inside their bodies over time. It's not just about a bad meal. It's about what happens when we let profit replace purity and convenience replace conscience. Mercury is one of the most silent yet dangerous contaminants found in seafood today. a toxin that slips through the food chain and quietly accumulates in our bodies with every bite. It's invisible, tasteless, and undetectable without testing, which makes it even more insidious. What begins as industrial pollution from factories, coal plants, and mining operations eventually makes its way into rivers and oceans. There, microorganisms convert this mercury into methylmercury, a potent neurotoxin that's absorbed by plankton and small fish. From that moment, the poison begins its climb up the marine food chain, growing stronger with every step. By the time it reaches the apex predators of the sea, swordfish, sharks, and king mackerel, the concentration of mercury has multiplied thousands of times. These large predatory fish may look impressive and taste delicious, but they carry a toxic burden that's invisible to the naked eye. Every small fish they eat adds to the mercury levels inside their own bodies, a process called bioaccumulation. Over time, this accumulation becomes so extreme that eating a single serving of these fish can expose humans to unsafe mercury levels. The most alarming part is that mercury doesn't simply pass through the body, it lingers, embedding itself in tissues and the nervous system. It attacks the brain, damages neurons, and interferes with the development of the central nervous system. For pregnant women, this risk is especially dire. Mercury can cross the placenta, affecting the unborn child's brain and cognitive growth. Studies have shown that prenatal exposure, even at low doses, can lead to learning disabilities, memory problems, and developmental delays later in life. Swordfish, one of the ocean's top predators, is often at the center of this problem. Despite being prized for its meaty texture and rich flavor, it's among the most mercury-contaminated fish in the world. The same goes for shark meat, which some people consume under the illusion of exotic luxury or adventure. In reality, it's one of the most dangerous seafoods a person can eat. Regular consumption has been linked to neurological issues, tremors, and even long-term cognitive decline. King mackerel, another popular choice in many coastal regions, also ranks high in mercury, particularly those caught in tropical waters. These fish are living sponges of pollution, carrying decades of accumulated toxins in their flesh. The issue doesn't stop at the individual level. Mercury contamination is a symptom of a much larger environmental crisis. The burning of coal, improper waste disposal, and industrial runoff all contribute to the steady flow of mercury into marine ecosystems. Once it enters the ocean, there's no easy way to remove it. It circulates endlessly through the water, sediment, and living organisms. What was once a pristine source of life becomes a reservoir of poison, slowly feeding back into the human food chain. Scientists have even found mercury in species once considered safe, showing that no part of the ocean is untouched anymore. People often underestimate how small amounts can add up. Eating a few servings of contaminated fish each month might not cause immediate symptoms, but mercury builds up silently, especially in organs like the liver, kidneys, and brain. Over time, it can lead to chronic fatigue, muscle weakness, mood swings, and memory loss. It mimics other health problems so effectively that many never realize their diet is the cause. For those who eat seafood regularly, especially from unknown or unverified sources, the risk becomes cumulative and unavoidable. Public health guidelines around mercury are often vague, and most consumers are unaware of how serious the issue is. Restaurant menus rarely disclose mercury content, and packaging labels almost never indicate where or how the fish was caught. It's easy to think a dish is safe because it's served in a clean, reputable restaurant or because it came from a high-end market. But the truth lies beneath the surface, literally. Unless the seafood is from a low-mercury source, every bite carries a hidden cost. The tragedy is that the ocean, once viewed as a place of healing and abundance, has become a carrier of human pollution. Mercury doesn't discriminate. It contaminates everything in its path. The fish that once nourished ancient civilizations now carry the residue of industrialization. What used to be food for longevity has turned into a slow-moving poison that travels through generations, affecting not only those who eat it today, but the children who inherit its invisible damage. There's a powerful illusion that surrounds seafood, one built on luxury, freshness, and the image of clean oceans. Dishes like lobster, calamari, and tilapia are often presented as healthy, high-end, or guilt-free options. The truth is that many of these so-called delicacies are far from the pure, nutritious foods people believe they are. Behind the elegant restaurant plates and glossy supermarket packaging lies an uncomfortable reality of contamination, poor farming practices, and hidden health risks. What appears to be a symbol of wealth and wellness can often be a product of industrial shortcuts and polluted environments. Lobster, for instance, is a food often associated with sophistication and fine dining, yet it carries its own share of hidden dangers. These crustaceans are scavengers that feed off the ocean floor, meaning they consume whatever waste and debris sink down, including heavy metals and microplastics. Many lobsters are caught near coastal areas that are polluted by human activity, where runoff from factories and sewage systems seeps into the water. The result is that the very flesh considered a delicacy can contain trace amounts of mercury, lead, and other industrial residues. Moreover, lobster meat is naturally high in cholesterol, making it a poor choice for people who already struggle with heart issues. The image of luxury masks the truth. The ocean's garbage collector is now being sold as a gourmet experience. Calamari, or fried squid, carries a similar deception. It's marketed as a lean seafood option, yet few realize that squid often accumulate toxins and heavy metals through the smaller prey they consume. Over time, substances like cadmium and mercury build up in their tissues, especially when caught in polluted waters. When deep fried, as it commonly is, the dish loses much of its nutritional value and becomes a cholesterol-heavy indulgence rather than a healthy meal. What's more disturbing is that in some markets, calamari isn't even made from real squid. There have been numerous cases of imitation calamari being made from processed fish or other sea animals, revealing the dark corners of seafood fraud in the global supply chain. Consumers believe they're enjoying a fresh, light appetizer, when in reality they might be eating something entirely different and potentially far more harmful. Then comes tilapia, one of the most popular fish worldwide, often sold as a mild, clean-tasting alternative to pricier varieties. Its reputation as a healthy choice is one of the most misleading marketing successes in modern food history. The majority of tilapia sold globally is farmed in overcrowded conditions, particularly in countries with minimal environmental regulation. The fish are often fed unnatural diets consisting of corn, soy, and even animal waste, which significantly alters their nutritional composition. Instead of offering the anti-inflammatory benefits of omega-3 fatty acids, farmed tilapia is overloaded with omega-6s, which promote inflammation, heart disease, and joint problems. Some farms have even been caught using untreated wastewater to raise fish, exposing them to bacteria and parasites that later end up in consumers' kitchens. The cost-effectiveness that makes tilapia appealing to retailers and restaurants comes at a serious cost to public health. The seafood industry's glossy marketing plays a key role in maintaining these illusions. Consumers see bright, clean packaging with words like fresh, natural, or premium, while the truth behind production remains hidden. The connection between what's on a plate and where it came from is deliberately obscured. Few people realize that the shrimp on their salad could have been raised in a chemical pond in Asia, or that their calamari may have been caught from waters filled with industrial runoff. The seafood market thrives on the assumption that customers won't ask too many questions. When people equate price and presentation with quality, it becomes easy for deceptive practices to flourish. This illusion of health and luxury feeds into a larger cycle of ignorance and consumption. People order these dishes believing they're treating themselves to something elegant or nutritious, when in fact, they may be ingesting contaminants that the body struggles to process over time. Each bite seems harmless, yet the cumulative effect of eating polluted seafood can lead to fatigue, inflammation, and toxicity buildup. The psychological comfort of choosing seafood, often seen as lighter or more natural than red meat, blinds many to the industrial realities behind it. The ocean, once a source of life, is now treated like a dumping ground, and its inhabitants have become vessels carrying the consequences of human negligence. The seafood industry hides these truths behind glimmering shells and golden-fried coatings, turning health hazards into fashionable cuisine. Shellfish like clams, Mussels and oysters have long been celebrated as ocean delicacies, praised for their texture, flavor, and nutritional value. They're packed with minerals, omega-3s, and essential vitamins, and they've held a special place in coastal cuisines for centuries. Yet the very thing that makes them unique, their ability to filter and clean the water they live in, is also what makes them some of the most contaminated seafood available today. These creatures are nature's filtration system, capable of cleaning vast amounts of water each day by absorbing microscopic particles, plankton, and nutrients. But when that water is polluted, they don't just filter it. They absorb everything harmful within it, from microplastics and heavy metals to industrial chemicals and bacteria. Every contaminant that enters their system stays there, waiting to be consumed by the next creature up the food chain, which is often us. In a clean, untouched ocean, shellfish would be among the healthiest foods a person could eat. Their filtering process would simply cycle natural nutrients back into the ecosystem. However, the modern world has changed the ocean beyond recognition. Industrial waste, agricultural runoff, oil spills, and untreated sewage constantly flow into coastal waters, turning what was once a pristine environment into a chemical soup. Shellfish living in these areas absorb everything in their surroundings, including toxins like mercury, lead, arsenic, and cadmium. Over time, these metals build up in their tissues, remaining there even after cooking. When people eat contaminated shellfish, they unknowingly ingest these pollutants, which then accumulate in their bodies as well. The result can be long-term exposure to toxins that affect the nervous system, liver, and kidneys. Microplastics have made the situation even worse. The ocean is now filled with plastic debris that breaks down into particles small enough to be invisible to the human eye. Mussels and oysters filter thousands of liters of water daily, capturing these particles in the process. Research has shown that many of the shellfish sold in markets contain measurable amounts of microplastic fibers. While scientists are still studying the full impact of this, early findings suggest that these plastics can cause inflammation and cellular damage when ingested over time. This means that every bite of shellfish may now contain remnants of the plastic waste that humans have carelessly dumped into the ocean. Even more troubling is the risk of bacterial and viral contamination. Because shellfish feed by filtering seawater, they can also absorb pathogens from sewage and agricultural waste. When harvested from polluted waters, they can carry bacteria such as Vibrio and E. coli, as well as viruses like norovirus and hepatitis A. These contaminants are not always destroyed during cooking, especially in dishes where the shellfish are served raw or lightly cooked, such as oysters on the half shell. Every year, thousands of people suffer from shellfish-related foodborne illnesses, many of which stem from poor water quality or inadequate testing before harvesting. The very environment that sustains shellfish has turned into a breeding ground for invisible dangers that cannot be detected by sight or smell. What complicates this further is the illusion of safety created by modern marketing. Labels often boast fresh, wild-caught, or locally harvested. Yet these terms tell nothing about the cleanliness of the waters from which the shellfish were taken. In some regions, contaminated areas are reopened for harvesting too soon after pollution events, or inspection systems fail to detect all harmful substances. Consumers trust that regulation and oversight guarantee safety, but in reality, water testing is often inconsistent, and toxins can go undetected. The result is a global market flooded with shellfish that may meet the minimum legal standards but still carry health risks that accumulate with long-term consumption. The irony is that shellfish are still doing their job perfectly, filtering and cleaning the ocean, but the ocean they're cleaning is no longer clean. Every chemical, every microplastic, every trace of industrial runoff they remove ends up concentrated within them. Their purity depends entirely on the purity of the water they live in, and that purity has been compromised almost everywhere. The closer shellfish live to human civilization, the more likely they are to carry the byproducts of it. Eating them is no longer simply enjoying a taste of the sea. It's ingesting a reflection of what humanity has done to it. The ocean's natural filters have become sponges for pollution, and the consequences of that contamination are served daily on dinner plates around the world. Amid all the warnings and concerns about contaminated seafood, there are still a few options that remain safe, clean, and genuinely nourishing. In a world where the oceans are increasingly polluted and industrial fishing practices have tainted much of what was once healthy, two types of seafood continue to stand out for their purity and nutritional excellence: wild-caught Alaskan salmon and sardines. These two species represent what seafood was always meant to be: natural, untainted, and deeply beneficial to human health. They thrive in clean environments, eat natural diets, and contain high levels of essential nutrients, without the dangerous levels of mercury and toxins found in larger or farmed species. Choosing them isn't just about taste. It's about taking back control over what enters the body and opting for food that supports longevity, rather than slowly undermining it. Wild-caught Alaskan salmon lives in some of the coldest, cleanest waters on the planet, far away from the overcrowded fish farms that produce the majority of the salmon sold globally. These fish live freely, feeding on smaller organisms and plankton, rather than processed pellets or chemical-laced feeds. Because they grow in their natural habitat, their flesh develops the deep orange-pink color that farmed salmon try to imitate with synthetic dyes. Wild Alaskan salmon are also significantly lower in contaminants because the environment they inhabit is less exposed to industrial runoff and pollution. Studies have shown that wild salmon from Alaska contain far lower levels of PCBs, pesticides, and heavy metals compared to farmed varieties. The difference can be seen not only in purity, but in nutrition. Wild salmon contains a more balanced ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids, which helps reduce inflammation, improve heart health, and support brain function. Eating it is not just about avoiding harm. It's about feeding the body with something truly restorative. The nutritional profile of wild Alaskan salmon is unmatched in the seafood world. It's rich in high-quality protein, vitamin D, selenium, and antioxidants like astaxanthin, which gives it its natural vibrant color. These nutrients support cardiovascular health, enhance cognitive function, and even improve skin elasticity. The omega-3 fatty acids found in wild salmon have been proven to lower triglyceride levels, stabilize mood, and protect against degenerative diseases. Unlike farmed fish that require antibiotics to survive, wild salmon builds its strength through movement and natural diet, resulting in clean, firm, flavorful meat. It's one of the few remaining examples of seafood that aligns with both human health and environmental integrity. Choosing wild-caught Alaskan salmon supports sustainable fisheries that prioritize ecological balance and preservation of the ocean's biodiversity. Then there are sardines, small, oily fish often overlooked because of their size or strong flavor. Yet they're one of the purest and most nutrient-dense foods in existence. Their small size and short lifespan mean they don't have time to accumulate mercury or other toxins. Unlike larger predatory fish, they feed low on the food chain, mainly consuming plankton, which minimizes the transfer of pollutants. This makes sardines one of the safest seafood options available, even for frequent consumption. Despite their simplicity, sardines are nutritional powerhouses, packed with omega-3s, calcium, vitamin D, and B12. Because they're usually eaten whole, including the bones, they offer a natural source of easily absorbed calcium that supports bone health in a way few other animal foods can. Their dense nutrient profile strengthens the heart, supports the brain, and contributes to overall vitality. Beyond their nutritional benefits, sardines are also environmentally sustainable. They reproduce quickly, exist in abundance, and require minimal energy to harvest compared to larger fish species. Choosing sardines helps reduce the strain on overfished species and supports a more balanced marine ecosystem. In many ways, they represent the future of responsible seafood consumption: small, clean, and sustainable. They're proof that health and environmental awareness can coexist at the dinner table. While much of the seafood industry has become synonymous with contamination and overexploitation, wild Alaskan salmon and sardines remain shining exceptions. They offer the nourishment humans need without the hidden dangers lurking in so many other ocean foods. Eating them reconnects us with the ocean in its most natural and life-giving form. They remind us that purity still exists, that not all is lost in the battle against pollution, and that there are still honest foods capable of healing rather than harming. In a world of deceptive marketing and tainted choices, these two stand as quiet testaments to what happens when nature is allowed to do what it does best: create life that sustains life.